It's late in the day, and you're still here. It's been a long day. My name is Jin Rou. I am a Buddhist nun from the Chinese tradition, and my Dharma name is Chinese. And maybe we can close the door. Maybe we should. And Jin means drawing near, and Rou means soft and pliable. And I have Jen Tianxue here with me, and she'll tell you about her name.
My name is Jin Tian. Jin, that means a near or draw near. Tian is the field. So the meaning of my name is the field of blessings.
The reason why we were asked to give a talk here is because of this book that's called Wok Wisely. Have you seen this book? It's around. We're from the city of 10,000 Buddhists in Ukiah. And we have branch temples in many different places in the world. And one of the branch temples is in Taiwan. So the nuns in Taiwan wanted to make an offering to all the animals in the world and all the people who like to save animals' lives. So they decided that they would make a cookbook. So there is a famous chef in Taiwan who became vegetarian after cooking for presidents and dignitaries from all over the world. He became vegetarian and met the nuns, and they decided to write this cookbook. So if you see this, the photographs are amazing. They're very, very beautiful. They were set up in a very small kitchen in the corner. What would happen is the people would cook the dishes at home, and they'd bring the dishes to the temple and take them to the corner, and the photographs were made. And they put together this cookbook. And it was presented to me to edit the cookbook into English. I'm going to tell you some of the challenges that I had to edit a cookbook from China. There were 3 different translators, and there were 5 different kinds of tofu. I didn't know until the end of the book they were all the same tofu. So I learned quite a bit. But first of all, these are the reasons we were to talk. We're going to talk about what is in this cookbook and why we wrote this cookbook and how this book brings the East to the West in nutrition, and how important I think that looking at the history of Chinese culture, Chinese medicine, how important that is in America right now, and Americans understand it, and they're benefiting quite a bit from incorporating the East, bringing it to the West. But first of all, you're probably curious about the monastery, about the life of a nun. Are you?
Yes.
I bet you are. Then we'll talk about that first. We'll tell you a few things, and then we'll take questions. So,
You want me to talk about it?
sure, we'll talk about it. We'll talk together. We can talk.
Okay. Because we practice, Buddhist nuns practice vegetarian.
A little bit louder.
Okay. And what I like to say is, before in the monastics in 10,000 Buddhists, we only eat 1 meal a day. And at the lunchtime, we have a little chanting. And we will always be mindful of what we eat. And therefore, we have the contemplations. We have 5 contemplations that we observe every day before we have the meal. And the first one is the offering or the fable or this food. Okay, is the fruit of all the.
Excuse me. If you can't hear, raise your hand. Okay.
Okay.
That'll help you. So.
The first one is we appreciate for all the food, for all the offering that because go through all the work in here. Okay, from we know the food doesn't just happen to be on the table. It's from the field, the farmers, and all the workers have to go through putting the seed in the soil and waiting for the good weather, the sunshine and the water, and collecting them, harvest them, and prepare them, and then they go to the markets, and then the consumer buy them, and then some people have to cook them. Okay, all this work that they have to go through before they are presenting on the table for us to eat. So, and because we have to be mindful of that, working care. And the second one is that we have to reflect on our own conduct. Okay, have I truly earned the share of this food? What have I done deserve with this food that offered to us? And the third one is, and we think about the most poison of the mind is what? Can someone put a guess? The most poison of our mind is
Greed. Yes.
greed. Someone said that. Yeah. Okay. So because of that, and we have to be mindful when we see something often, or when we hear something every day, when our mind sense from our six faculties, and we properly grasp for them. So we'll be mindful of that. And we only take what we need. It's just like medicine. Okay, if you're under the weather a bit, you'll take vitamin C, right? Quickly trying to prevent the cold or flu get worse. So you may take 1 or 2 a day. But it's because the vitamin C, it tastes so good. And you won't take a whole bottle. You only take what you need, right? So same as food. Okay, when we're hungry, we just take what we need on the plate. We don't take extra, or try not to extra. And our practice is to be frugal by not wasting food, wasting resources. So, and then the fifth one is, in order to sustain our physical body, okay, to cultivate what our mission is, our goal, our destiny, is for liberation, to end birth and death. Then we have the mindset of the gratitude of it, to thankful for the food that offered to us. So, and because of this, we are always mindful of not wasting food and be healthy. Think about the food just for the good health for our body. And why? Actually, I don't want to go into vegetarian. I'll let Jin Rou to carry on.
You can talk a little bit.
Perhaps I'll say a little bit, huh?
Sure.
Okay. The reason that vegetarian food is considered as more calming and pure, and as opposed to the animal food, meat, the thing is when an animal is being killed, okay, they go through a very hysterical and very scary stage that they're being killed. And because of that, going through that process, they have a lot of anger in their body. And once when we eat it, you can imagine that anger get into our system. Okay, so therefore, that's one of the reasons that we do not eat meat. And we also, because of this, we practice compassion. So we care for all living beings, not only human beings, all the animals, all the birds, all the sea animals, and we care for them. And I think that's all I have to say.
Sure. We are from Northern California, in Ukiah. We live in a valley, and we're surrounded by a mountain. And we have many, many animals, wild animals that roam freely on the campus. So people always have their cameras ready. We have peacocks, we have deer, We have the great blue heron. It lives in the wetlands. They're very big and very beautiful. And we have cougar in the back. We have turkeys and squirrels and all kinds of insects. So in order to practice compassion, we don't harm the animals at all. As a matter of fact, in the winter time, when it's very cold and rainy, when it rains, all the worms come out on the road. So at that time, we do meditation. We try to stay in so we're not on the roads and we aren't stepping on the worms. So this is an example of the Buddha's teaching on compassion. Our day is very rigorous at the monastery. We start at 3:30 in the morning. We have morning recitation at 4 o'clock. And the reason why, because in the morning our minds are clear, we're not yet faced with the problems of the world. So we can see things in a different way. We chant mantras and we do meditation practice. And throughout the day we have different ceremonies, different rituals, where we do chanting, and we have a university, we have elementary schools. So Tien Xiaobo, she works in university, and I have been a teacher I've been at the city for over 30 years, and I've been a teacher for 30 years. But now at 73 years of age, I thought I want to go back to college. So I'm working on my master's degree right now at our university. So I wanted to change my life. So I want to talk a little bit about the book, about what happened to the book. This book is filled with very easy to do Chinese recipes. And the authors wrote a bit about the Confucian ideals of food, and they wrote about the Eastern ideals of food. I had the opportunity to study Chinese medicine and food as medicine. So I thought I wanted to change this book and make it adaptable in America. In America, people are very concerned about where their food comes from, about nutrition. So I set about doing that work. The first thing I noticed, though, about the recipes is that their names were like cabbage deluxe, salty peanuts, steamed cabbage. And I thought, when I look for a recipe, I want to look at the name and know what the dish is going to look like. Do I have the ingredients? Can I buy them? I want that all, because I don't have time to look at every recipe. So I started playing around with the names of the recipes and begin to change them. So if you see a recipe, you know exactly what it's going to look like, what it's going to like simmered cabbage with corn and button mushrooms. Can you see the colors? You can almost taste it, Braised peanuts with star anise. So you get the idea. And then the Chinese have wonderful names like good luck soup, well-wishing bean sprouts with water, licorice flavored water. So this is, I get to work, and once the names got changed, this brought life to the book. It made it much more interesting. Now, the recipes are extremely simple. The ingredients, you can find most of them in your local market. If you cannot find the ingredients here where you live, I suggest you move close to Chinatown. Then you can find whatever you want. You can order anything online that's in this book. Isn't that amazing? Ginkgo nuts, whatever. You can order it if you want to. But I think you can find enough things in a local grocery store to cook what you want to. Now, my brother-in-law eats meat 3 times a day. So I went to visit him and my sister this summer, and he says, I love noodles. I thought, well, great. I'll cook you noodles from this book. So I did a recipe for him and the family, and he loved it. And the next day he wanted noodles. And I noticed that the next day and the next day and the next day, we had noodles, all kinds of noodle dishes. And I began to realize that on one day he only ate meat 2 days, 2 times that day. And at the end of the week, he was eating meat. Sometimes he'd even forget that he didn't eat meat. He was so interested in the recipes in here. So that's proof to me that these are worthwhile doing. What I want to talk today is about color. There are many, many different ways to approach nutrition. So I won't talk about vitamins or calcium or protein because you probably already know there's a lot in vegetables. But one very important thing is the color. Color makes a lot of difference when you're cooking. Now, at Agave Monastery, the nuns there do stir fry. And it looks like little jewels. The way they cut things into little shapes and things, it looks like a treasure chest. It's all shining and all so bright. And when you see this, you really feel, well, you want to eat it. It feels happy, it's fresh, it's vibrant. And it's because of the colors. They put them all together. So, our kitchen was bare on Friday, but I brought a few things for different colors that we have. So I'm going to talk about how to use these colors. So I made a chart. And this is a chart here that represents the organs in our body. It represents a heart and the liver and the stomach and the kidneys and the lungs. And they're all different colors. It also represents summer. Red is hot. And green, things grow and sprout. In winter, it gets dark. In the winter time, we don't have too many bright colors. And then in the fall, we have white. Because at that time, the trees are all losing their green color. So all the energy goes into the ground in the white. The trunks are kind of white. And so this represents fall. So these are the colors that will enhance the different organs. Because in the summertime right now, it's the end of summer, but we have lots of tomatoes now, right? At the end of lots of tomatoes, lots of red peppers. This is a color for summer. You want things to increase your circulation and to keep you cool. Of course, a lot of green things too. But here in the center we have yellow. That's the stomach. It's in the center, the spleen, the pancreas. This is digestion. And actually, this is for late summer, which you just went through. So it's more the yellow. So we have late apples. We have lemons and pears, and we had summer squash, all the different colors for late summer. So in the fall, what are some white vegetables? Cauliflower, potatoes, what else?
White corn.
Daikon, yeah, the daikons are really great right now. So this is a time of year right now that things are just beginning to go down. So you want to have food that's kind of pungent. It's going to clean the lungs. It's going to clean the colon. It's going to take the energy down. So daikon radish is a great one to have this time of the year. It's really, really quite wonderful. And cauliflower, ginger. Ginger takes the energy down. So this is just an example of how foods run through the seasons and how we can heal our body. Next is coming winter. People look forward to summer, but they're afraid of winter. Why? Why are people afraid of winter? it's cold and you're afraid you might get sick, right? You know, that's when the flus begin and people, what in, no, yeah, the sunlight's gone, you can't, yeah. And people had to get around in the dark. So there's a lot of fear in the wintertime. Fear has to do with kidneys, adrenals. When people are very frightened, their adrenals get shot. So in the wintertime, we want to go toward more blue and toward black. So where do we get black food from?
Dark color.
There you go. Yeah, dark colored foods. Yeah, like black rice, black mushrooms. What else?
Yeah, eggplant.
The dark purple eggplant. This is a light eggplant, but the dark, yeah, this is dark purple. How about
What's purple yam too?
the purple yam? And black, this is about number one are black beans. Black soybeans, black turtle beans. Black beans are super great for the kidneys. They keep you warm. They're wonderful. It's also the purple cabbage. Yeah, that's another one. All the purples and the blacks. Seaweed, black seaweed, great.
The water chestnut.
The water chestnut. Oh, it's actually not the water chestnut. The chestnut.
The chestnut itself.
Yeah,
Okay.
the chestnut. The chestnut. So what I did is I gave you have papers. I gave you a paper to take home with you because this tells you how to keep warm in the winter. There are three. The Chinese are very, this is from Chinese medicine. There are three traditional guidelines. Pass them out, yeah. And they list on your paper, the list of different things that you can do in the wintertime to keep you warm. We'll get everyone by the time it's over with.
It's a
You'll all
very-
get one.
A very useful hint. Yeah, to keep warm in the winter time.
Yeah.
And to avoid to prevent your any illnesses.
Okay, there are many things on here that are listed that I didn't call out. Nuts, walnuts, anything that's dried, any kind of dried food keeps you warm because you have all this, you absorb all, you contain all the warmth. If you dry something in the summertime, all that warmth is in there. And then you just soak it in water, and then it really gives you great energy. It makes you feel really, really good and warm. So dried string beans, dried mushrooms, dried seaweeds, dried yams. You can buy a lot of dried things now. People like dried things, right? So there are there's the Chinese dates. You know what they are? The jujube. Yeah, they're not sweet, but they're really nourishing. Red beans are also great. Yams, even though they aren't black, they still have that energy. And sweet rice makes you very warm. Nuts and there's walnuts and Chinese chestnuts and pine nuts and pecans and peanuts and sunflower seeds and sesame seeds and seaweeds and black beans and so forth. It's interesting, in the summertime, our skin is thicker. Do you know that? It's thicker in the summertime because we're trying to protect ourselves from the heat. But in the wintertime, our skin gets thinner. And that's why you get cold. The cold comes in. But at the same time, the skin is trying to absorb more sunlight. And so in that way, you can bring a different kind of warmth into the body. And it also helps your body to digest your food better. So summer, winter, try to be in the sun as much as you can, even in the winter time. When you go outside, try to expose your hands and your lower arms and your face for at least 15 minutes every day. But not midday. And not through a glass window. Doesn't work. We should get plenty of vitamin D, and in the wintertime it's difficult. But do your best. We have, at our temple, every day we had to walk to lunch, and it takes about 15 minutes to walk there. So every day we have an opportunity to be out into the sun. Really wonderful. Have you ever had Chinese congee? Actually, I think the Indians also use a congee. You know, rice. It's like rice that's cooked into pearls. When it's cooked, it looks like it's beautiful. It looks like little pearls. And you can add many different things to the congee that will bring about different situations in your body. So how many of you, what kind of congees do you know about?
Japanese.
Okay, what's in the Japanese congee? You don't know? Somebody tell him. Tell him what's in the Japanese congee most of the time.
Fish, maybe?
No? I mean, it could be, but mostly this is vegetarian congee. Well, it's usually yam. It can be miso, but it's usually the yam. The Japanese yam, it looks kind of like this one on it. You know, it's a yam. And it's purple on the inside. It's really good for the stomach in the wintertime. It keeps you very warm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the Chinese, what do you usually use in Chinese congee? You use ginkgo nuts. Great. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Uh-huh. And what else do you use? What do you use in congee? What do we use?
Ginger.
Ginger. Very warming.
Yes. Or ginseng.
Ginseng? Oh, yeah, right. You can use ginseng too.
American ginseng.
Oh, yeah, because American ginseng is not as strong as the Chinese ginseng. It's a little bit more. Yeah, it keeps it a little bit, yeah.
What was it?
Carrot congee. What?
Peanuts. Yes.
Peanut. Oh, yeah, those are really good.
So if you put all these ingredients in your congee, yummy. Very good. And very nutritious.
So I think on special holidays in China, there's one special holiday I think at kind of when the I think it's the equinox. Is that when you have all the different one?
Day and night.
Yeah, the equal day and night. And on that time in Chinese culture, they do a congee with about 16 different items. You know, so you know about that one? Maybe it's ancient Chinese. Very, 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 very ancient Chinese, yeah. But I think we can try that one. It should be pretty good. So he talked about the other thing that's very important in food are the temperaments of people, the emotions. Food can actually change one's emotions. And if you notice, when you eat a meal that has a lot of mixtures in it, a lot of things in it, a lot of combinations, how do you feel afterwards?
Not good. Yeah.
Sleepy and, yeah, confused, kind of, yeah.
How to meditate.
Yeah.
How to think. How to make good judge decisions.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a simple, well-balanced meal, how do you feel?
You can study well.
You feel a lot better. It's a lot better. So one's temperament, for example, is someone is too happy. Someone is getting married, and they just think everything is going to be just perfect, and they're looking at things a little bit unrealistically. You give them some lemon to kind of cut down the sweetness, and let them think things over a little bit. So this is how you can use flavors to change one's temperament. So the heart energy, the red color, has to do with the energy of fire in summertime. and it has to do with compassion. And the opposite is hate. So each element has the opposites. And then the green in the springtime, you just been a long winter. And spring comes, and it's a little hard to change from winter into spring. It's just like a sprout in the ground trying to grow. It tries to grow, and it just gets to the ground and snow comes. And it has to go back and try again. And our energy is like that in the wintertime. We're trying to just come up, bring our, but it just keeps going down. So this is a very difficult time between winter and spring. And at that time, there isn't much growing. There's very, very little growing. So this is a time that we will eat more simply because there isn't, of course, this day you can buy anything you want to, but traditionally, so in the springtime, to come out of winter, one of the best things to eat in the springtime are sprouts. Sprouts can pull us out of the winter time and give us fresh energy, give us a lot of nutrition, and they brighten our eyes because green is a color for the eyes, to brighten the eyes. And green is a color for envy. When people get jealous, or sometimes angry, they get kind of green. And it's also being angry or being calm and patient. So spring has to do with patience, being patient. And then from the springtime, we go into the summertime. And the summertime, people are very joyous in the summertime. It's a happy time. It's warm, things are growing, and you grow also. And then we come into late summer. Late summer is a time of the year, it's a transition from winter, going into winter, coming from summer. So it's a very quiet time. Everything is very quiet. Just notice this time of the year. Everything is already grown. The activity is over. Everything kind of settles into this quiet energy all over the earth. And your mind is like that too. You finish the summer, you finish the fun. Now you're kind of getting ready for the fall. And in the fall time, people start things. School starts in the fall. People start projects in the fall. It's just like that. So we come out of this summertime. In the summertime, we're eating plenty of squash and plenty of yellow things. And at this time, it's very, very important to eat very simply because you're making the transition. If you don't, you get stomach problems. All kinds of digestive problems will come up for you. So you want to go very simple. So this is from summer into fall, which is right now. Fall has to do with the emotion of grief and sorrow or letting go. Letting go, making your commitments, being responsible, or just letting go of everything. So it's okay to have grief, it's okay to let go, but you should have a balance between the two. And the next one we talk about is the winter time where we have fear and we have courage. Okay, I talk a little bit about the different colors in the food. Before I talked about red, and red is for the heart. And orange and yellow are for the stomach. And green is for the liver and the gallbladder. Also for the eyes, because the liver is connected to the eyes. So when you see the green color, your eyes brighten. All winter, your eyes kind of, don't look outward too much you look inward in the wintertime. All your energies go inward, but in the springtime when things begin to get green, your eyes look outward. And so green is that color to bring your eyes alive again. Other green colors. I want to talk about the different shapes of food. Cutting food into different shapes makes a great difference in the kind of the taste of the food and the energy. When you cut food into big rounds like this, it's going to be more. It's kind of more open. It's going to be more what they call yin. This is great for soups. And you can cut things in a triangle, but like in a carrot. I'll show you how a carrot goes. This is the long end, the short end. So when you cut it, you just get part of the carrot. You don't get all of the energy of the carrot. But when you cut it like this on diagonal, what happens is you get more of a balance of the carrot. You get both the long and the short. You get the yin and yang. So you cut it like that. It's more balanced in your body. And then you can cut it into little sticks like this for different kinds of cooking. The smaller you cut food, the more energy it gives you.
Why is that?
It's because you put more energy into it, and bigger pieces are more open. For beauty, you can do flour. And in the wintertime, when everything is very drab, you make a pea soup, you drop a few flour carrots in it, and it lifts your spirits up, makes you feel happier. Just takes a little bit. Also, cooking at different times of the year. What, do you have any questions? Am I going too fast? Yeah.
Is there a difference of cutting your food yourself and using machines to cut the food?
Oh, what do you all think?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to answer it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To my understanding, if you cut it manually, and because the energy you put into it, like Jin Rou just mentioned, like when you cut it small, you put more energy in it, and somehow your energy, it mixes with the food. It tastes better than the machine. It just blend with, I don't know what kind of energy comes out with the metal. So, and also, I remember my father had mentioned that, when cook the Chinese food, and then he diced with hand, and I said, well, why don't we use a blender? It's much faster, right? And he said, no, it tastes different. And sure enough, so since then I have been listening to my father. Well, when I don't have time, yes, a blender or those are food processor would be faster. But otherwise, yes, use your hand. It has a loving care in it, and you have a good. But of course, you don't get angry, and you pass your angry energy into your food. So if you have loving care in the food you prepare, I bet your family will enjoy it.
Much better.
Much more.
Much better.
And the other thing, quickly to say, is about the Christmas coming, when you bake or make bread, if you use a hand to knead rather than use a machine, it also comes out better.
Yeah, a lot more energy.
I would say more like a homemade cook compared to eating out and it's
Yes.
processed.
Yeah.
So that's why the people enjoy the homemade, yeah. Why do they advertise homemade soup, the homemade cookie, homemade? Yeah.
And here I'm talking about Chinese cooking, but the wonders of stir-fried cooking, I understand, is that there's a lot of spirit in tossing the food in the air. That great spirit of just having the skill to do that. If you watch a Chinese cook, it's fascinating.
Japanese and Korean.
Any way you watch it, it's an art. Well, that energy comes into the food. And this energy is can be very, for people who are inactive, this is great. It can really bring them much more strength. But if people if they're old, they're weak, this puts a great spirit into it. You know, it really does. You don't have to use oil to stir fry, by the way. I've discovered that. You don't have to use oil to stir fry.
What would you use?
You can use water. Or you can use water and a little bit of oil, because the water cools the oil down. But it's the activity. The oil is, of course, makes it taste good, but if you just put water in the bottom and kind of braise it and toss it and still have that spirit in there. It can be that way. Not everyone can take the oil. People who have heart problems cannot take oil. Then you just water stir fry. It's a lot better. People who are. Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about the effects of microwaves on food?
Well, I just know it tastes like rubber, so that kind of gives me an idea.
Well, I wonder if you have any thoughts about, energetically how it might.
Well, there's all kind of information about, and I read it all, and I believe it all. I believe that to use a microwave oven is not very healthy for you, for sure.
I don't use one, but I just wondered.
But yeah. Oh, yeah. So even when you roasted nuts, you should roast them very, very slowly. Try not to do it too fast because they're certain. There's one thing I want to talk about because people are very misled often by some of the sweeteners, because right now there are a lot of emphasis on natural sweeteners, and many of them are quite good. But just because something's organic doesn't mean that, and it's been refined, doesn't mean that it isn't sweet and it's not good for you. Organic doesn't mean that it's necessarily good for you. It's just been refined. And so one thing right now, it's called Agave. Are you familiar with Agave? It has a great marketing. And I know people are using Agave like a lot. But then I researched it and found out actually it's almost complete fructose. Yeah, and so people who are using it because they think it helps them, and it's not. So anyway, you can do your research on it. Please do. And another thing people often do that I find is a mistake is people combine nuts together because they think, oh, this is so healthy, all these nuts. But actually, if you think about nuts are very, very strong. And you can't eat too many at a time. And if one nut is already strong, when you put them all together, you have a traffic jam in your stomach. Because one nut is good for this, one nut is good for that. And if you do it that way, but when you do them all together, they're all vying. Well, I'm the one who's going to take care of this. No, I am. No, I am. Get out of the way. So you have all this going on in your stomach, and you start acting like that. You go through a crowd, or you're acting like that. You get out of the way. This. So, yeah. So these are just some things I wanted to let you know that I found out. And the other thing about coconut oil, I really don't know. I tried it myself. I found it extremely warming. Its quality is very, very warming. And but my understanding is if you eat the whole coconut, you're okay. And if you're going to do coconut oil, then you need to do the other parts of the coconut with it. So I just you have to experiment yourself. There hasn't been any research right now that's coming out, but there is an investigation about coconut oil. If you use it in very, very small amounts because it's very hitting to the liver and gallbladder. Yeah?
Well, they've always said for many years that saturated oil is not good for you. Monounsaturated and others are better. And yet, coconut oil is very high in saturated oil. Whenever I talk to someone who has a product, they say, yes, but saturated oil in coconut is different than others.
I know.
Is that true?
Or
is it
Well, I don't know because there's a lot of research right now. Basically, I wouldn't say that, but I would just say if you're going to use it in very small amounts and eat some of that. You can get desiccated coconut oil, dried coconut, the dried coconut meat, and eat that along with it, or do some of the water or whatever. Just try to get the whole coconut in there.
Yes, that is what the recent researchers are saying. It's better if you have the whole product itself, produce, rather than when it's extracted.
Mm-hmm.
So all this oil, any kind of oil, they're extracted from the natural produce.
It's like
Right.
eggs too. Some people
Yeah.
eat the egg white, some eat the egg red. Yeah, eat the whole thing.
The whole thing. Yeah. Mhm. Are there any questions up until now? Yes.
I don't know if you mentioned it, I didn't come at the very beginning. What do you recommend that's good for gray hair?
For
Gray hair.
for gray hair? Well, I think gray hair is lovely. I know a lot of people dye their hair, and I think gray hair is really lovely. You mean for it to not get gray?
Right.
I don't know. I'll tell you. I read this story. There was a man who began to bald, and every day he worried about his bald. He says, if I get bald, and he bought all kinds of ingredients, everything, and put him on his scalp every day. His hair kept falling out, and he was like frantic. He tried and worried. What am I going to look like with all my hair gone? And little by little, all of a sudden one day, all of his hair was gone. He had no more hair. He looked in the mirror and says, oh, what a relief. I don't have to worry anymore about this. So,
It's all or nothing.
yeah. So actually, gray hair comes from fear. It comes from the depletion of the kidneys, the kidney energy. But I do know that from my research that too much protein, especially too much tofu, too much protein can override the kidneys, and they can cause problems in your kidneys. The kidneys control the hair, and your hair will get gray. So it comes from the kidneys. So I would say the source goes back to limit your intake of protein. The older you get, the less protein you need. You're already grown. You don't need to grow anymore. You don't need so much. When you're a child, give your children plenty of protein. They're growing. They need it. But when you get old, like 73, you don't need it anymore. Yes?
From what I understand, Wok's a very famous for eating a lot of gluten, and it seems like there's a fashionable thing nowadays not to eat gluten. It's become a multi-billion-dollar industry. What are your thoughts about that?
This is not, make sure, not eating so much fruit? Oh, the gluten. Oh, yeah, isn't that interesting? There's an amazing amount of researchers and nutritionists who are finding out that some people, of course, are allergic to gluten, but not everyone. But the kind of wheat, mostly processed wheat, as you know, is going to cause problems. So any wheat that's processed is going to cause a problem because it interferes with digestion. And also, so I'll give you the positive side of it. Sprouted wheat is different than regular wheat. When the wheat has been sprouted, it changes its composition, and it's a lot healthier for you, and people can eat sprouted wheat. So there are a lot of sprouted wheat grains, but there's one thing on the market that I think is misleading, and that's all the different grains combined together. 17, 14, 15, 21 grain bread. And it's like the nuts. Grains are staple food. They're very important. They're very nutritious. Rice is very balanced. You can combine any grain with rice or with wheat. But when you go mix in millet and oatmeal and barley. They have very different qualities. So when you mix them together, it's very difficult to digest them. And I think it's very confusing to your mind because whatever you eat affects the way you think and the way you feel about yourself. So basically, I would suggest you try to, if you can possibly find anything less than 3 grains, I don't know if you can, sometimes that's all you can find is like 7 grain, 18 grain. But I would suggest that you try to use sprouted flours, sprouted bread, and try to cut down to maybe at least 3 combined together. Does that help? Does that help answer that? The one disappointing thing, is that many people now cannot tolerate gluten, but when you go to buy bread, the bread has eggs in it, has egg whites in it. Have you noticed that? So if you're vegetarian, be sure to check anything that's non-gluten, check the label, and make sure it doesn't have egg whites in it. Because very often it does. Yeah, I found it out the hard way. Is there anything else? Any more questions? In the cookbook, you will see, if you have a chance to see the cookbook, there are many quotations here from famous vegetarians, and there are also quotations from the ancient Chinese. And I found them very inspiring. I looked at thousands of quotations, and these are the ones I selected. One of my favorite ones is by Paul McCartney. He says, if slaughterhouses were made of glass, everyone would be vegetarian. So in the book, our Master Jin Rou from China, came to America to teach us Buddhism and to raise the moral standards of people. He says that if you want to know why there are wars in the world, listen to the cries from the slaughterhouse at midnight. He talked about cause and effect. The brew, he says it's like a brew, constantly boiling. You go in and you come out. So he says when someone is slaughtered at the hands of another, there's enmity, there's hatred. And this hatred goes on year after year, thousands and hundreds of years. And this is why there are wars in the world. You kill me, I'll kill you. And this becomes global karma. It becomes world karma. So I just want you to think about that. Think about this situation. And when we have a few minutes, I want to recite a poem from one of the ancient Chinese poems in the book. It says, the farmer hoes in the midday sun. His sweat falls on the soil. Who can guess how much toil it took to fill the bowl of rice? So being grateful for our food is most important, as Jen Tincher talked about. Taking our food every day with gratitude for all the work that's gone into the food. It's amazing how much work goes into a grain of rice. And that's why we should never waste even 1 grain of rice.
He said yes.
Yes. He probably doesn't. Our master says, he says, if people I'm reading this poem. if people protect others and cause them to have long life and cause them to have health by not taking their lives, then this person will have long life and good health. A few things. Go around. We have about 2 more minutes. Are there any more questions? You want to add something? The closing?
One thing I remember knowing that I had to come to here.
A bit louder.
Okay, and I went through because I didn't have time to go through the Wok Wisely. And I just flipped through it, and it has a lot of good information, not only recipe, but it also has the education in that book. They talk about the 5 elements of the body, that Jin Rou just mentioned, but also the other one was what? The wood, the metal.
Oh, the different times of the year, how to
different
cook
times of
food.
the year,
Mhm.
different times let's see, what do they call that? Element, right? The elements, different kind of elements that you can refer to and see if you can match it and see what would go well with you. And also it will affect how you relate with other people as well. So it is a very educational cookbook. Perhaps that's what they call Wok Wisely.
Wok Wisely. The name is kind of interesting. We wanted to say something about Chinese cooking and something about wisdom. And we had a young person who was a designer, and he writes really beautifully. And he says, why don't you call it Wok Wise? And we thought, Wok Wise, well, it's kind of good, but it's a little bit kind of street language, a little bit. So anyway, he said, but do walk nicely. So we put Wok Wise and Walk Nicely together and came up with Wok Wisely. So anyway, this is how the name came up. Okay, then I hope you learned something and that you enjoyed the festival. Okay, we did it.
Good job.